It all began on a quiet Tuesday afternoon in our suburban neighborhood. The sun was just beginning to lower in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the neatly kept lawns and driveways. I had just finished folding the last load of laundry when I heard the front door open and close, followed by the unmistakable voice of my teenage son, Tyler. He had his usual after-school energy, a mixture of excitement and exhaustion, and trailed behind him was his friend, Jason. Jason had been coming over a lot lately. He and Tyler had been friends since the beginning of the school year, and their bond had grown stronger with each passing month. He was a polite, respectful boy, always thanking me for snacks and helping clean up without being asked. Over time, I found myself warming to him, not just because of his manners, but because there was something about him that seemed different. Maybe it was the way he observed people quietly before speaking, or the way he always offered to help around the house, even when he didn't have to. On that particular day, Tyler rushed upstairs to change while Jason lingered in the kitchen, sipping the iced tea I had just poured him. I was wiping down the counters when he suddenly blurted out, "Mrs. Anderson, can I ask you something?" I turned to him and gave him a warm smile, nodding. "Of course, Jason. What's up?" He hesitated, shifting his weight from one foot to the other, his eyes nervously scanning the tiled floor. "It's kind of weird. And personal," he added, almost in a whisper. Curiosity piqued. I put the rag down and leaned against the counter, giving him my full attention. "I'm listening." He glanced toward the stairs to make sure Tyler wasn't nearby, then turned back to me with a serious look in his eyes. "I don't really have a mom around. She left when I was 8. My dad's always busy working, so I don't have anyone to talk to, like really talk to." My heart softened. I hadn't realized how lonely Jason must have felt, despite his cheerful exterior. "Well, Jason, you can always talk to me," I said, my tone sincere. "What's on your mind?" He looked relieved, as though a weight had been lifted, and took a deep breath. "I don't know how to talk to girls. Like, I don't get what I'm supposed to say. Tyler seems so confident, but I just freeze up. And I was hoping you could maybe help me figure it out." I smiled gently, realizing this wasn't unusual for a teenage boy. I assured him that it was okay to feel unsure and awkward, and that most people go through the same thing at his age. We spent the next half hour going over basic conversation tips, how to listen actively, how to give a genuine compliment, and how important it was to treat girls with respect. He asked questions and nodded along, absorbing every word like a sponge. That evening, after Jason had gone home, I couldn't stop thinking about our talk. It was touching that he trusted me enough to open up. I mentioned it to my husband, Greg, over dinner, and he agreed that Jason probably just needed a positive female role model in his life. From that point on, I made more of an effort to include Jason in conversations, encourage him, and just be someone he could count on. Weeks passed, and Jason continued visiting often. Sometimes it felt like he was part of our family. He began staying for dinner more regularly, and even joined us on a weekend trip to the lake. He and Tyler would fish and play games while Greg and I relaxed on the porch. It was during those moments that I noticed how Jason's confidence had slowly begun to build. One afternoon, while Tyler was at a school club meeting and Jason had come by early to hang out, I found him in the living room flipping through one of my old photo albums. "You were really pretty when you were younger," he said, blushing immediately after realizing how it sounded. I chuckled and sat beside him. "Thank you, Jason. That's sweet." He looked at me and said something that caught me off guard. "You still are. Pretty, I mean." I wasn't sure how to respond at first. It was clearly a compliment, but coming from my son's friend, I had to remind myself it came from a place of admiration, not anything inappropriate. I simply smiled and patted his shoulder. "That's kind of you. But remember, compliments mean more when they come from a genuine place, not just to flatter." He nodded and said, "It's just, I never really get to say this kind of stuff to anyone. It feels safe with you." I appreciated the honesty and reminded him again that I was always here if he needed someone to talk to. Things continued like that for a while, Jason talking to me about girls at school, asking advice on how to build confidence, even seeking input on what kind of cologne to wear for a dance. I helped him pick out a nice shirt from the store, and even gave him a few tips on how to dance without looking awkward. One day, after the school dance, Jason showed up at our house alone, his expression downcast. I invited him in and offered a snack, and after a while, he opened up. I asked a girl to dance, but she laughed at me, said I looked stiff and weird. I could see how much it had hurt him. Jason, that doesn't define you. Not everyone's going to be kind or mature, but that doesn't mean you aren't worth it. He sat quietly, staring at the carpet. I just wanted someone to see me the way you do. The room grew quiet for a moment, and I could feel the weight of his words. I reached out and gave his hand a comforting squeeze. You're growing, Jason. It's a process, and sometimes it hurts. But the fact that you care so much, that says something powerful about who you are. As time went on, Jason seemed to bounce back little by little. He started talking to new friends at school and even joined a photography club. He would come over and show me his pictures, proudly pointing out how he learned to adjust the lighting or find a good angle. I encouraged him every step of the way, proud of the growth I was witnessing. A few months later, at the school's end-of-year ceremony, Jason received an award for Most Improved Student. His dad couldn't make it due to work, so he asked if we could come instead. Greg, Tyler, and I sat in the audience as Jason went on stage, beaming. When he saw us clapping, his eyes lit up. Afterward, he walked up to me and gave me a hug. Thank you for everything, he whispered. Later that evening, Jason stayed behind after Tyler had gone to bed. We sat on the back porch, watching the stars. I don't know what I would have done without you, he said. You've helped me in ways I can't even explain. I looked at him and said, sometimes people just need someone to believe in them. And you made it easy to believe in you. That summer, Jason landed a part-time job at a local hardware store. He started saving up for a camera and even offered to take family photos for us as practice. The boy who had once been too shy to speak had turned into a confident, thoughtful young man. And though I had only played a small part in his transformation, I was proud to have been someone he could trust and confide in. Looking back, it wasn't that Jason wanted anything material or inappropriate. What he wanted, what he needed, was guidance, encouragement, and a motherly figure to help him navigate a confusing time in his life. And what I did wasn't extraordinary. It was simply being there, listening, and believing in someone who needed it.